Welcome to the Real World. My name is Cameron. Today on the Real World Podcast, episode 107, we're talking about the best movie plot twists. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Real World Podcast, the 107th episode of our podcast. This one is all about plot twists. So some of our favorite movie plot twists are going to be discussed. So this is a spoiler-heavy episode. Just so you're aware of that. And the timestamps down below, you can go to each movie if you haven't seen some. That way you can skip over the ones you haven't seen and come back to them later. But joining me on this endeavor is Bert. How you doing, man?
Hey Cam, I can't tell you how I'm doing. I'm gonna hold that till later because it's gonna be a bit of a twist to find out what mood I'm in. So
I can't wait to find out
yeah,
what the big twist is with
yeah.
Bert and his mood right now. That's going to be very fascinating for all of us. So, yeah, thanks for joining me, man. This is going to be a fun one. This is one that we've actually talked about for a while, about doing
Yeah.
this topic. It's one that you brought up early on, and somehow it's taken 107 episodes to get to it. I don't know why, but a lot of movies out in theaters that we like to talk about. So, anyways, we're finally here and excited to talk about these things. So, let's jump in. Alrighty, folks, we are ready to jump into our list of the best movie plot twists of all time. But before we do that, we wanted to talk about what a plot twist is. A lot of people, I'm sure, are familiar with this concept, but there's actually a couple of different ways to kind of look at this. So, as I was doing some research, I was looking at the difference between a twist and a reveal, which we're going to be covering both. We're just kind of calling it plot twist because that's the general term. But a plot twist is an answer to a question the audience didn't know that they should be asking. So, stuff like,
Nice.
you know, some big reveal about or twist about the characters or the world they're in or something like that, that the audience had no idea that they should even be, you know, questioning that.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a twist. That's kind of something that comes more out of left field, kind of throws you off and kind of changes the whole movie. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
a reveal is a lot more kind of typical, where it's a question the audience has been asking the whole time, and it's revealed, and it's a big shock, a big surprise. The answer to this
Yeah.
question that they've been kind of trying to figure out the whole time. Like who the killer is or something like that. So
Right.
those are the differences. Again, we're covering both. There's a lot there to be covered. So that's kind of what we were looking at. Um, I came up with this idea when I was thinking about all these movies that a great twist does not necessarily make a bad movie good, but it can make a good movie better. I don't think, the twist is necessarily the
Yeah.
thing that makes a lot of, these really good movies that we're about to talk about great. It's not necessarily that it's just a great twist, it's that the movie was good up until the twist, and the twist made
Mm-hmm.
it even better.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I was trying to think about these when I was creating my list. I really wanted the twist to have a big impact on the story, and it really changed the thing from, you thought about it one way, now you're thinking about it a totally different way. So those are the ones I went with. Again, I was going with movies that I like, that I think are really good movies that just also happen to have a really good twist in them. So that was sort of my way of thinking going in. Bert, what was kind of your thought process going into this?
Yeah. There's kind of a whole psychology when you're watching a film. You don't really perceive it necessarily, but I feel like most movies that we watch, there's times where we start to think, well, where's this movie heading? Like you start to try to figure it out because you want it to make sense.
Right.
And then sometimes the fun of it is that you'll say, oh, I see what kind of film this is trying to be. And that's where the plot twist can really get you, is because it'll string you along, and then all of a sudden we jump on a different track.
Right.
And hopefully that's for the better.
Yes.
We'll probably talk about some examples of how how successfully that transforms the movie, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Obviously we're doing a draft, we're going to pick the ones that we think did that most effectively.
Yep.
But I'm interested in which twists that you knew ahead of time, or reveals, let's say,
Mm.
because I've mentioned a couple times that with the Village, for instance, I was working in a
Yeah.
movie theater at the time, and there's actually a couple twists in that one.
Yeah.
But one of the two, I heard people talking about when they came out of the movie, and I'm like, oh, okay. But it didn't actually
Mm,
ruin the movie for me. In fact,
right.
I wonder if maybe it was better knowing that going in.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting thing too.
Sure.
So some of these maybe we knew about going in, most of them not, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably.
Right.
And so but I just want to say again, just it's kind of fun when the reveal happens. You sort of sometimes you get that pit in your stomach, and your brain starts doing this real fast rewind in the movie to see how you did not
Yes.
see it coming.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about with the
Yeah.
psychology of it, is that it does
Hmm.
this interesting thing to our brain, I think.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that can sort of like trigger endorphins when it's something
Yeah.
exciting and fun, or
Uh-huh.
you can be like, no, no, no,
No,
that
right.
was a really bad twist, so
Yes.
I love that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't include films in general where the twist is part of the synopsis of the film. So
Oh,
as
yeah.
an example, just a couple random ones. The Negotiator.
Mm.
You got that setup where Samuel Jackson's a hostage negotiator, and then he himself has to take on hostages because of the situation he's put in, and that's kind of all
Right.
spelled out in the trailer.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's not a twist because you already know going in.
Yeah.
And another one is like Minority Report. You knew full well going
Mm.
in
Sure.
that this is pre-crime and all this kind of stuff. You didn't know
Yes.
all the twists of
Yes.
the movie, but I'm saying
Right, right.
yeah, so I tried to steer away from that because you want it to be like you said, something you're not thinking you're even looking for.
Yes, exactly. Yep, totally agree. I like all those points you made. Totally agree with all that. So excellent. Well, let's go ahead now and jump into our lists. So I think I had first pick last
I
time,
think
so
so. I
it's
think
now your
so.
turn. Okay,
Hmm.
good. All right, excellent.
This
So
is key
yeah,
because we're stealing picks. We're trying to
that's right.
build the best top 20
Yes, our
plot twist
draft.
movies. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Our draft is all about, going back and forth. And if I pick one that's on his list, he can't take it anymore. So we're trying to build the best list. And so I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of overlap, ones that you're going to want that I'm going to want, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fun one as we go through this. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, folks, this is it. Now we're into our list, the draft of the best movie plot twists of all time. Bert gets first pick. Again, we want to warn you guys, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy discussion about all these movies, all the big plot twists. We're going to reveal them all. We're going to ruin all the movies for you right now. So if you haven't seen these, go down below and you can see there's timestamps. So when you scroll through, you can actually find the movies that you want to hear us talk about. If there's certain ones that you haven't seen that you don't want to get spoiled, skip ahead to the next one, and you can do that down below in this video. So I think we're ready, Bert. What do you have for your number one draft pick for the best movie plot twist of all time?
Number one, I am selecting The Sixth Sense.
Oh, yes, of course. It had to be The Sixth Sense. I would honestly be a little disappointed if you didn't pick The Sixth Sense. So I'm not mad, really.
Yeah, it super impacted me coming out of the
Yeah.
theater. I remember I think I saw this one alone at the time, and I came home and I was just like in a like kind of like a fog. I just my brain could not wrap around what happened
Right.
at the end with Bruce Willis's character, obviously.
Mm,
And so I mean, it was a very great, solid drama. And then on
right.
top of that, this reveal, I guess you could say it's more of a reveal.
Sure.
And your brain's racing back. And the problem is I didn't have it on video, so I actually had to go to the theater again to see how effectively the director hid the clues.
Right.
And that's one of the fun things in all of these is going back and seeing how many clues were laid down. How fair was the filmmaker to the audience, because they
Mm,
cheat. Some of these films they cheat a little bit, right?
right. Yeah. Sure.
And Sixth Sense pretty much does not cheat, and so that's fabulous.
Hmm.
Was this the first film that you know of where a character was dead the whole time and you didn't know it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can't think of any earlier examples of that kind of a twist.
Yeah, I can't
No.
either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think of that pitch. You wonder if the studio execs like that, or if they
Right.
thought, I don't know, the audience isn't going to like the fact that,
Yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that room to
Right.
know
Sure.
how easy it was to sell that, because now it looks brilliant. And now,
Yeah.
I mean, I listen, there's 6 films I considered for the draft
Yeah.
that involve a major character that at the end of the movie you find out they weren't there the whole time, or I'm
Right.
sorry, that they were dead the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
So it's been repeated, and some of them
hmm
it works really well.
Sure.
It doesn't happen often enough to where I expect it. And
Right.
personally, I
Right.
don't try to guess the reveals, and I don't try to
Yeah.
guess the twists, because
Yeah.
I just want to just sit back and enjoy the movie, right?
Right. Right.
Do you try to guess things? Like, what do you lean into?
I typically don't. I'm just
Yeah,
in it. I'm just in the movie watching it. Now, if they bring stuff up, I'm going, okay, wait, how
yeah,
would that connect?
yes,
If the
yeah,
characters are
yeah,
discussing it, then I'm trying to figure it out too. Like a whodunit or something like
right,
that. I'm trying to guess who the killer is,
yeah. Well, sure,
But
yeah,
ones like
yeah,
this, where it's
exactly.
just kind of a story. This isn't that kind of movie where there's a big mystery they're trying to unravel. It's just a story about two characters,
Yep,
and
yep,
then you're thrown for a loop at the end. So.
yeah, exactly.
Great pick. Yeah, again, I can't fault you for it. It's one of the best for sure. One of the most memorable, easily. Okay, jumping now into my number one pick, which actually was not The Sixth Sense. That was down a couple notches, but um, I'm going with The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I
Star
knew this would come
Wars.
up.
Yeah, it had to,
Yep.
right? I mean, it's kind of like this and Sixth Sense are the two like biggest spoilers. I mean, literally,
I would say, yeah.
If you go
Hmm.
on Letterboxd and you there's an option if you want to include spoilers in your review, you hit
True.
spoilers.
Yeah.
Darth Vader's helmet is the symbol that you're clicking on so that
That's funny.
so
Yeah.
that people know, hey, there's
That's right.
spoilers
It
here,
is.
just like
That's
this,
true.
that big Star Wars spoiler.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. It
this
makes
is
sense.
definitely easily, right up there. I would say right next to Sixth Sense as being sort of the most famous plot twist of all time. And it's one of those that, again, you're not asking the question of who's Luke's dad.
Right.
They kind of explain that in the way in the first one. Like, yeah, Obi-Wan says, yeah, he, was killed by Darth Vader. He was, I used to train him and Darth Vader killed him. And you're like, okay.
All
And then
lies.
in
Yeah.
this one, when it's revealed that Luke, I
Yeah.
am your father. I mean, that's such a big moment. It's been, of course, parodied everywhere and, done over and over again elsewhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Toy Story 2 does a great job with it. Buzz and
Yeah. Sure.
Surge, and
Yeah.
that one is
Yeah.
a fun moment. But it is when you watch it, I don't remember because I was so young. I don't really remember what my exact reaction was to it. I'm sure it was pretty much just in
Oh,
shock,
that's what I was
but
going to ask you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I was so young. Again, I grew up watching all those movies over and over again, so I don't specifically remember the first time seeing it, but it is a shocking moment. There's no doubt. I mean, audiences back in 1980 when the movie was released were just dumbfounded. They had no idea what to do with this information because it does radically change the trajectory of that story. Because Luke, up until that point, he's just all about defeating Darth Vader. I just have to kill this guy
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
he
Some
murdered
random bad guy.
Obi-Wan and he's the arch villain. He's in charge of this big empire that's destroying planets. So
Right.
this information now totally changes, and he goes,
Hmm.
"Wow, I want to save this guy now. He's my dad. I want to help him. I want to turn him back to the light side of the Force." And you know, um, so it really does change, specifically Luke's character, and again the trajectory of where he was going, where we thought he was going. Now he's going in a totally different direction. So, yeah, easily one of my favorites. It was one of those that is one of the first kind of big secrets. We hear now about all these big movies, especially like Marvel movies and stuff, where actors have to sign NDAs, to not talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
anything in the
Right.
movie. And this
Yeah.
was sort of the first one of those. I don't think Mark Hamill had to sign an NDA because George Lucas knew the twist, and the director Irvin Kershner knew the twist, and that was it. They didn't
Hmm.
tell the other writer, Lawrence Kasdan, didn't know that this twist was happening. Mark Hamill didn't know until they eventually told him for the scene. But on
Gotcha.
set, the actor did not even say, Luke, I am your father. He said, Obi-Wan killed your father. And that in and of itself
And
is
he's got
kind
a
of a
helmet on, so
right.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that when James Earl Jones dubs it, he says the actual line.
Oh, okay.
Um, and
Okay.
so, uh, but that in and of itself, again, Obi-Wan killed your father. That's kind of a cool twist. Like, oh,
Hmm.
the guy who was mentoring me is actually the villain. But this is, of course, even
Yeah.
even crazier.
Right,
And
right.
so yeah, so Mark Hamill knew after they told him, the director and George Lucas all knew, and then when the premiere happened, and you've got the whole cast, Harrison Ford's there, Carrie Fisher's there, and they're watching the movie, and that scene happens. I've heard in interviews, Harrison Ford, he leans over to Mark Hamill and goes, "Why didn't you tell me any of this, kid?" He's like, "I couldn't, sorry. I couldn't tell you."
Right.
So it's just a really, really great twist. Again, it's a story thing, that I think it
Yeah.
really affects the story in a major way and the characters.
Hmm.
So definitely one of my favorites. Definitely one of the most popular of all time. So had to make the list. Ended up at number one.
Yeah, and I got to throw in there, I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater when I was very young, and I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about Star Wars, so I was confused anyway. But I had no idea that thing had happened in
Right.
Empire, and it was years later that I heard some because I didn't go back and watch these films either, and
Mm-hmm.
years later I heard about it in pop culture somehow, so I was well
Right.
aware of it before I
Sure.
saw Empire a few years
Uh-huh.
ago. Unfortunately, it was not a surprise to me, and
Right.
that's unfortunate because it would have been more fun if I didn't know about it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, for sure. All right, Bert. Well, both of our number ones are out of the way. So what is your second draft pick?
That is where I'm going to take The Matrix. We're living
Ooh,
in a dream world, and
excellent
we're all
choice.
just residing in these pods, wasting
Yeah,
away,
right.
supplying whatever to the
Yeah, what does he do?
AI.
He says human beings have been turned into this.
And right, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and in that whole I guess we did know we were looking for an answer to that question because all of the marketing was what is the Matrix.
Right, right.
But it was very surprising and fairly revolutionary when we got the answer to that question, and
Yeah,
very disturbing.
yeah,
So it was pretty impactful.
right.
And it's just for me, it's just one of my favorite films of all time. So that's part of the
Mm.
reason why it's so high up there too.
Yeah, yeah, excellent choice. It is definitely one of those big reveals that rocks your world in many ways and kind of goes, whoa, okay, they're like it's a big thing, like the Matrix. It's not just
Yeah.
like, it's like in most movies, I feel like that would be like some little MacGuffin, some little thing they have to get, to beat the bad guys or something, or
Right,
something
right.
like that. But this is like, no, this is what the world is. This is the way you've been
Yeah.
living your life. It's like, oh wow, okay. Yeah, and it's a great reveal, the whole Morpheus speech there. Lawrence Fishburne,
Hmm.
one of the great actors. He does a great job revealing all that because that's another thing is that could have been really clunky, to reveal all that and to
Yeah.
kind of all that exposition and you're trying to explain all this, but they do it visually, which is
Yes. You
great
need the
and good.
budget. You need the budget for
Yeah,
something like that. Uh,
exactly.
I don't think they needed more budget. They were actually
No.
really lean on that movie,
Yep.
but I think it is. How well does the filmmaker um, tie in everything so that it
Yes.
feels legit? That twist reveal feels legit.
Exactly. Excellent choice. All right. That's your number two. We're moving on to my number two. Another M. Night. We're gonna have a lot of M. Night on here, I feel
Oh,
like. Almost maybe his whole
probably.
filmography will be here. I don't know. Between our two lists. But I'm actually going with Unbreakable.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I think Unbreakable is, first of all, just a great movie. I rewatched it this week, and every time I watch it, it gets better. It's one of those that I just feel like the
Hmm.
visual storytelling, the acting is just, they're subtle performances, but they feel so real. It's easily the most grounded of all the comic book kind of genre films. I mean, there's
Sure.
really no big action scenes or anything like that. It's a character drama is
True.
really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that it's in that genre at all is kind of inconsequential in many ways, but at the same time, it's kind of all about comic book storytelling. And
Right.
so
Right.
what the film is it's really the first act of most superhero origin stories. It's him discovering that he's
Yeah.
a superhero. He has these amazing abilities that no one else has. And this film, you go through the movie, you're with, this character David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, and he's discovering all these strange things like, oh, I've never been sick, and obviously it starts with this train wreck where he's not doesn't have a scratch on him after this huge, train derailment. And he meets this character called Mr. Glass, Elijah Price, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And throughout the movie, what's interesting about the way M. Night structured this is we're getting flashbacks to his childhood throughout the film. The film actually starts with his birth, and we're getting flashbacks to him, as a child. And he's just a fascinating character. He's basically the exact opposite of David Dunn, who's indestructible. Mr. Glass
Yeah.
he has this disease that means basically his bones are extremely brittle. Just bumping into something can cause a fracture. So he's bound to a wheelchair, and throughout the movie, they're becoming closer. He's Mr. Glass kind of helping him discover all these abilities and all these things he can do, and kind of pushing him into becoming kind of this hero
Hmm.
that he kind of doesn't really want to be. But the end of the film, what's revealed is that Mr. Glass is the one who's orchestrated all of these disasters, looking for this person who he believes exists, who is the opposite of him, because he grew up reading comic books and he understands that, you know, uh, the hero is always the opposite of the villain. Like take for example Lex Luthor and Superman, right? Superman has all these amazing superpowers. Lex Luthor has no superpowers, but he uses his intellect, to battle him. And so that's
Yeah.
exactly what Mr. Glass is doing here. He's kind of orchestrated all of these events in order to find this person. And he was responsible for that train derailment, that killed, 100 people or however many people are on that train. And so that's the big reveal, is that this guy he's almost in the mentor role of most like superhero movies. He's kind of training him and teaching him about all this stuff. He is
Yeah.
actually the bad guy the whole time. So I really
Right.
like the
Right.
twist. I think it works really well again for story reasons. It kind of makes you rethink the whole movie again. You're like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
why he was doing all this, and
Right.
it's really interesting. I really think it's a great twist, one that I certainly did not see coming. I vaguely remember seeing it for the first time, and yeah, being very surprised. I kind of was like, wait,
Sure.
wait, what? I was like, we got to rewind. Like, what just happened? I don't get it. Hold on a second. It was one of those that I had to kind of do a double take on.
Right.
And so yeah, but and again, I've rewatched the movie so many times, and it doesn't take away. I think it only enhances the film, really, when you watch it again,
Mm,
knowing he's
nice.
really
Yeah.
the bad guy and what he's actually trying to do throughout the film.
Right.
So yeah, I had to include that one. It's my number two.
What year did that come out? Was that 08?
It was 2000. Can you believe this is
Oh, 2000.
before,
Whoa.
it's way before
Okay.
any, like this same year as the first X-Men. I mean, this is like the comic book
Yeah.
genre had not
I
at
forgot it
all
was that
taken
old.
off. Yeah.
The reason I
Really
ask
early.
is it's kind of a similar twist to Batman Begins, with the Ra's al Ghul thing.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's
But that
true.
was years after. So
Right. Yeah.
Unbreakable did it first.
Yeah, I guess they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Bert, we're now on to your number three pick. What do you got there?
All right. And from the board, I will take Interstellar. He is his own
Okay.
ghost and leaves his
Sure.
own clues, warning himself not to leave. But it's the best
Crazy.
for humanity, of course.
Oh, of course. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
That's wild.
my favorite film of all time.
Yeah.
This was quite a big. I mean, I guess you could see it coming. I wasn't looking for it, so it
Right.
wasn't necessarily that reveal blew me away in a way like Sixth Sense did. But I thought
Right.
it was a really interesting way of tying it in because there's some feelings like that there's alien involvement in this, and I
Yeah.
liked this twist much better than here comes an alien group at the end, and they're the
Yes.
ones that have been doing it. And
Right,
so
right,
to me,
right.
I was so emotionally involved in this film that
Hmm.
it doubled down on that aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
And so again, just very impactful. I mean, that's what these are really impactful reveals.
Yeah, that one more than most, because yeah, that is a big moment for uh several of the characters really, but specifically for,
Yeah.
you know, Cooper, I think is his name, Matthew McConaughey's
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent reveal. Nolan is another guy who's probably going to show up a couple times here, who kind of is good at endings, endings that you don't see coming.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
again, and that's another one where you are kind of asking like, what's going on? Because you see that scene in the bedroom, from one perspective, and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
you don't really get it. You're like, I kind of didn't even think about it the rest of the movie. It's kind
Yeah.
of one of those I
Yeah.
just kind of brushed off, like, okay, that was kind of strange, but whatever. And you kind of
Right.
the movie goes off in its own direction, and then when
Mm-hmm.
it comes back, you go, oh yeah, that was weird. Why did that happen early in the movie? And
Yeah.
so the way it's explained is just it's brilliant. I mean, it really is really fascinating, and what they do with that visually was so strange and
Yeah.
different. It's just
Yeah.
very very cool, very cool. So excellent choice. Another good one. All right, well our top threes are going to be rounded out here with my next pick. Staying in the sci-fi realm, one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, Arrival.
Okay. That's on my
Arrival.
list.
Is it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man,
Got to
Arrival.
remove
I
that
just
one.
yeah, I think Arrival is first of all, again, just a great movie by itself. Didn't really
Yeah.
even need
Yeah.
this twist. It was kind of fascinating up into the point, but
Right.
you have the opening scene of Arrival, which is the last scene of Arrival, and you have no idea, I mean, because it's just her kind of, playing with her
Right.
daughter and, all these things that they go through when her daughter gets sick and all this. So you think, oh, okay, this is kind of a tragic story. She's kind of, having to deal with this loss, throughout the movie. And then you realize, no, that was the future. The alien beings communicate in a way that allows you to basically time travel. And she, even though she has knowledge of this, is that this is going to happen, that her daughter is going to get sick and die, she still goes
Yeah.
forward and lives her life as she would, and has her daughter, and they go through all of
Hmm.
that together. So it's a great story. It's one of my favorites because it's, as a parent, you just so relate and so put yourself in those shoes and go, what would I do? Like that is kind of a difficult situation to be in, to have that kind of knowledge and go through with it. But ultimately, I just love it because it's very pro-life. I mean, the whole story. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, life is worth living. I mean,
Yeah. Exactly.
every life has value, no matter how short. So I just commend the filmmakers for, what they did there and what they were able to accomplish. Again, pulling it off. It's a question you don't know you should ask. It's kind of just comes out of left field in the end, but it really
Hmm.
has a lot more impact. The story has a lot more impact because of it. So yeah, Arrival made my number three.
And if you recall that movie, I was kind of put off by that twist the first time I watched it, and I don't
Sure.
really know why. And this is why it's good to go back and rewatch because
Yeah.
second time through, I mean, Denny's movies are a little different,
Sure.
and I
Sure.
I totally got it the second time, and I really liked the film the second
Right.
time watching it.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Give it a second chance. Always worth giving movies a second chance down the line. All right, Bert, we're on to your number four pick now. What do you have there?
Man, Cam, I watched this movie last night, and I was pretty blown away.
Okay.
It's a movie called. I never thought that anything would supplant my top, 4 and 5 picks.
Sure.
Predestination.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wow,
I know
wow.
exactly what you're talking about. That is
Uh,
that is the definition of mind blowing. I mean, it's like you can't even hardly wrap
yes,
your head around it. Yeah, go ahead because yeah, it was on my list as well, a little bit lower down, but yeah, what are
yeah.
your thoughts on
First,
this?
well, first of all, I can't even tell you all the plot twists, well, for sake of time, but also I don't completely understand all of it. I'm
Hmm.
part of the way through watching it the second time, trying to
Okay.
piece it all together. So I still
Right.
don't have all the answers. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll watch the end of a movie and I go, what was that?
Right.
Why did they end the movie that way? And I'll go
Yeah.
find on YouTube the ending explained of this,
Sure.
this movie. And I'm like, oh, that's what they're going for.
Right.
I did not do that for this one because
Okay.
to me, it's like a treasure trove of trying
Yeah.
to discover how all of
Yes.
this stuff lines up.
Right.
Because it's not that it's not confusing per se. It's just that
Yeah.
once you understand what they give you by the end,
Right.
which is that they're all the same person,
Yes.
it just blows your mind. And
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by it. And
Right.
this is one where it took sort of kind of a middling drama
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
once it started giving things away, I'm like, whoa, I just kind of, kept, throwing open my mouth like, what?
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm absolutely blown away by this. I wouldn't say it's
Yeah.
a 5-star film, but for the
Mm.
subject of plot twists or reveals,
Yeah.
I mean, it's multiple layers.
Yeah.
And the movie itself, of course, is not told linearly, it's
Right.
not a linear fashion. So
Right.
that adds to it as well. Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just so much here. I think anybody would really appreciate the amount of work that went into this script to pull it
Right.
off.
Yeah. It's every the way I describe the movie is every paradox, every time travel paradox that's conceivable is in this film. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, it's, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. Do we want to give it away? I guess we can't. We're in spoilers. So if you haven't seen
Yeah. Yeah.
Predestination, he's his own father, mother, murderer. It's like every,
Yeah.
like how, like all those are paradoxes. Like you can't go back and kill your parents because then you won't
Hmm.
exist and you can't have time traveled back. You can't go back and
Yeah.
kill yourself because then you won't have existed to kill yourself. So it's everything that is kind of like what you'd say is wrong, I guess, with a time travel movie. But the way they present it is so
Creative.
fascinating and
Yeah.
creative and just it kind of makes sense when you watch it. And
Uh-huh.
again, this is another
Uh-huh.
one where a few of these that we'll talk about, editing is kind of like the key
Yeah.
to all of it. Because if it wasn't
Right.
edited right, you'd be totally lost. You wouldn't get it. But the way they present it, it just totally works. And
Yeah.
it's a bit disturbing, but
Yeah.
it's so fascinating that
True.
it's kind of
It
one of those
is.
that you
It
just
is.
can't stop watching because you're like, what? Why? How? No. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a fascinating movie to watch because, and I haven't revisited it
Yeah.
because it
Okay.
is so much. I was like, I got to give
Yeah.
it some
Yeah.
time to simmer before I jump back in. So it's been I think I saw it like a year ago, maybe 2 years
Oh,
ago
okay.
now. So it's not been that long, but yeah, I wouldn't mind revisiting it because it is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real quick. It's Ethan Hawke, and then this
Yes.
Sarah Snook
Yep.
is the lady that plays a pivotal role or roles,
Right.
and very well acted. But what I wanted to say is that on my partial rewatch so far, it's just incredible to me. Some of the statements that the characters make seem just
Mm.
so inconsequential to the plot. And when you watch it again, you're like, oh my goodness,
That makes
everything they're
sense. Yeah.
saying is telling you what you're going to find out at the end. I love
That's
that kind of
great.
stuff, right?
Yes. That is really cool. Really cool. So yeah, that's definitely one I'll be revisiting soon. Excellent choice. We're gonna move on to my number four now. It's a classic sci-fi film written by Rod Serling, who was the guy behind Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
The original Planet of the Apes
oh, the
film.
original. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. It's uh it's a fascinating movie. You know, it was made in the 60s when, you know, there was some interesting sci-fi. There was, 2001, there's some classic sci-fi from the 60s, but it wasn't quite, I would say, in its heyday necessarily. But this one kind of came out of left field. It's known for its makeup effects and all these incredible things, Charlton Heston's performance and all this great stuff. But the end of the movie, it's now an iconic image that's you can't escape. It's him riding along the beach, kind of escaping from this civilization of apes, and as he rides up, he collapses, and the camera works great because it's all on him. You don't see what he's seeing until he collapses and he starts screaming, and then he's revealed that it's the Statue of Liberty there on the beach, and you realize, okay, he was on Earth this whole time because the whole movie it's these astronauts, in outer space, and they're exploring, and their ship crash lands on this planet, and there's all these apes, and that are talking and have this whole civilization. So to reveal that it's Earth at the end was just mind-boggling. One of those things that you go, wait a second, hold on. Okay, so this is Earth like 1,000 years in the future. This is crazy. So
Right.
really clever twist that definitely changes again the whole thing of you go back now and watch and you go,
Right.
okay, yeah, now this kind of makes sense why this whole all this
Yeah.
happened. And what's cool about the series, all five films, I would almost like to include all five of them because they tell this whole circular narrative of how
Hmm.
did the planet become this way.
Oh.
And it's really
Hmm.
fascinating. The movies get progressively kind of worse and kind of cheaper and as they
Ah,
go, but it's still cool to watch all five of them and see, oh, okay, so that's why this happened and that's why that happened. The second, or not the second film, the third film, Escape from Planet of the Apes, also has a great twist at the very beginning of the movie that you
oh,
go, oh, you're like, okay, so that's how they're going to connect all this. And so I almost picked that one, but this one's just too iconic to not pick. It's kind of, again, up
yeah.
there with some of the most iconic movie moments of all time. So ended up going with Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
Alrighty, well, that's it for my number four. Now we're going to round out our top fives with Bert's number five pick. What do you got?
Okay, at five, I am selecting Gone Girl.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Rosamund Pike is the aforementioned girl.
Yes.
Ben Affleck, her husband,
Right.
and then Neil Patrick Harris
Hmm.
slays in his role. No, he, boy, I rewatched this when I'd seen it many years ago, and I was so impressed. You know, Ben Affleck's no stranger to thrillers, but this one's really good. This one's really good.
Yeah.
The first several minutes, you think it's like one of these missing, person goes missing, and then
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of these where the husband then tries to find her and he can't find her, and they do all this stuff.
Right.
That's not really what we get. It really shifts a few times.
Yeah.
And so this isn't like one where there's one giant reveal or something, but there's two or three really key things that are very startling.
Right.
Um, namely, Amy, played by Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
When you start seeing her side of the story and what she has done, the lengths she has gone to,
Right.
that's really out of the blue and really surprising.
Yes.
And then we get to that moment where she is with Neil Patrick Harris, and what she does to him. His name is Desi. Poor Desi. I mean, all he wants is his ex to just come back. Just come on. I've got this really nice place. Well, everything be great.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so bloody and violent and unexpected.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
about shot
Right.
back in my chair
Yeah.
because I didn't remember any of that.
Right.
And then, of course, at the end, she gets some real revenge on her husband to make sure that he
Hmm.
stays with her. So,
Yeah.
just three really great moments there that completely shift the way you think things are going.
Right. Yeah. Definitely shocking moments to say the least. Yeah. That's one that I specifically have not revisited because it's so
Oh,
disturbing and hard to watch. It is, yeah, it's pretty graphic, pretty violent, pretty sadistic what she ends up doing
yeah,
to those
yeah,
guys. Um so yeah, excellent pick though. Like I said, I mean, yeah, crazy reveals, crazy twists on that one. So
yeah.
excellent. All right. I'm gonna round out my top five now. And I'm gonna go with a movie called Game Night.
Oh, heck yeah, I love this one. Yeah.
This one is so great. I know it's one of your favorite actors. I feel bad taking it because I know you're such a big Jason Bateman fan. But
I couldn't honestly. I couldn't. I only saw it once, and I want to see it
oh,
again, but I didn't get a chance to, so I couldn't remember what the twist was.
oh yeah. Well, I'll explain it to you right now. Sorry. Um,
Great.
but the movie's so much fun because it's one of these sort of comedies that kind of becomes a thriller, you know. But it
Yeah, yeah,
retains its comedy throughout because what's
yeah,
fun about this is so the premise is this couple are big game fans. You know, they're constantly playing games at bars with friends or at their house or whatever. So they have this game night, once a week or whatever, and all their friends come over and they're there and they're doing this sort of like one of these murder mystery kind of scavenger hunt type games,
yeah.
and they're doing it with Jason Bateman's brother. He's played by Kyle Chandler, and he's like, I'm going to set up a game night you guys will never forget. And so they start, and it starts with kind of this guys breaking into the house, and they're like, oh, this is all part of the game, and the audience quickly realizes, no, this is real. This is really happening to these people. The brother is in bad with the Bulgarian mob or something,
Oh, okay,
and they're
okay,
coming
yeah,
after him. And so this is revealed to us pretty early on,
yeah.
but the characters don't realize this until much later. So the
That's
whole
great.
movie, they're playing
Oh,
it up like it's
yeah,
a fun, silly game, and they're these
yeah.
actual violent criminals coming after them. And
Like
so,
that Bill Murray movie I was telling you about, The Man Who Knew Too Little. Very
oh,
similar premise.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. So they just do a great job with it though, because again, it's so funny, but you're kind of like on the edge of your seat at the same time that you're watching
yeah.
them kind of just play it up and be silly with these real bad guys. And then there's another
Yeah.
twist at towards the end of the movie. You realize, yeah,
Oh,
this there were guys after the brother, but it wasn't these guys. The guys that were after them were actors hired by the neighbor, played by Jesse Plemons,
he's
who who
hilarious.
who they always excluded from game night.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They always
Yeah.
exclude him from game night. He wants to be a part of it. So he wanted to prove to them that no, I can put on a great game night, guys. And so
Oh,
he hired these guys to kidnap
that's great.
them
That's
and do
great.
all this stuff. And so it's got layers to it. It's like multiple
Hmm.
reveals going on, and every reveal is better than the last, and it never feels
Yeah.
too contrived or too silly or outlandish. And I think that has to do with the tone because the tone is more comedic. They can kind of get away with a little bit more of that, but it's just really
Yeah.
well written, really well done. All of it's great. The acting performances are all fantastic. So yeah, I had to include Game Night because it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad you included a comedy because
Yeah.
I don't have a single comedy on my
Oh,
list.
really? Okay.
They don't tend to be the ones that have like effective twists. I mean, not
It's
that they don't
true.
have some surprising things, but it's usually
Sure.
just to set up some jokes, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Yep, yep. Yeah, that one doesn't do that. So, all right, let's move on to your number six.
Yeah, and this is a different genre. I'm going over to horror,
Okay.
and I will select What Lies Beneath.
Yep, that's on my list too. Took it from you.
Yeah, and of course, the big twist in this one is that he
Yes.
actually did it
Yeah, right.
and played so well by, I don't know if you've heard of this actor, Harrison Ford, and
Oh yeah, I
and
think I have. Yeah.
you've heard of him, yeah,
Right.
and
It's funny.
yeah,
I took your favorite actor. You took my favorite actor.
right, touche. Yeah, and of course the acting is so key here,
Yeah.
and Michelle Pfeiffer is a good compliment to
Oh
that.
yeah.
But this is one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's a beautiful looking film.
Yeah.
First of all, Zemeckis made this film, and so I love the way it looks. I love the setting. I love sort of the entire tone throughout from start to finish. And then with this ending that I didn't see coming. Again, I know there's people that'll say, "Oh, I knew that he had done it." Well, okay, I don't look for that kind of stuff when I'm watching
Right.
it,
Yeah.
and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford rarely plays the bad guy, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that's I think why this really works is because we know
Yeah.
him as the hero in every movie I think he's ever been in. Up until this
Mm-hmm.
point, this was 2000, I think this came out. So it was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what? Yeah, it's the last thing I saw coming.
And there's enough there to where easily could have been something else. So the fact that it was
Yes,
him,
right.
great ending. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Excellent choice. Good old Bob Zemeckis. Did a great job with that one.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to a film that I really like. I think it's easily one of the most underrated films by Ridley Scott. It's called Matchstick Men.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
You've told me about this one.
yeah, this is a great movie. It's a con artist film. So the whole movie, you're with Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell, who are partners, con artists. They con all these people, all these various different ways. That's how they make their living. And Nick Cage has a great performance because he's got OCD, like super OCD, kind
Oh,
of over
yeah.
the top OCD. And so it's a fun performance to watch. But Sam Rockwell, he's another one of my favorite actors. I really like him and everything. He's funny and I find him to be very likable. And so these two guys are kind of, partners and you're conning all these people. And the story is really about Nick Cage reconnecting with his daughter.
Oh,
His daughter comes into the film and he starts to kind of reconnect with her. And so that's kind of the premise. You haven't seen this, so I'm not going to give it away.
okay. I mean, yeah.
I'll just say the twist that happens basically at the end, very end of the movie, I think is great. And the twist is good, but what makes it better is there's actually like a little epilogue, a scene after that
Oh.
reveal happens that actually makes the film better and it makes it work thematically really well.
Hmm.
That's all I'll say. I don't want to give it all away. Um, Especially since you haven't seen it. I really want you to see this one. Because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
knowing the twist going in would kind of affect it a little bit. But
I'm
it's just
gonna, yeah,
a
I'm
great
gonna move this up on
story.
my watch list and let you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let
Okay.
me know what you think of it because it's one that I've again enjoyed a number of times. It's got great humor in it. It's got great drama.
Hmm.
Very well shot. Ridley Scott, he never disappoints in the way he directs films. And again, the cast is
Yeah.
excellent. So check it out and
Okay.
let me know what you think. But yeah, that's one that always stands out in my mind as being one of my favorite twists that I think enhances the movie. You think initially you might
Nice.
think, oh, that kind of makes the movie worse. But again, there's a scene afterwards that you go, oh, okay,
Oh,
that kind of is neat. So
That's an interesting thing because yeah, that happens too in movies where you'll see a twist and you'll go, that doesn't work here. That this is going to ruin the
right.
movie, and then they fix it with subsequent
Yes.
scenes.
Yes, exactly. Yep. That's exactly, I
Right.
think, what happens with that. So,
Nice.
yeah, big
Okay.
fan of that one. All right, Bert, we're now on to your number 7.
And I'm going to draft Book of Eli.
Ooh, excellent choice. Yep, another one on my list.
Denzel Washington traversing a post-apocalyptic landscape
Right.
and kicking butt and doing all this kind of stuff. And then come to find out at the end he was blind the whole time.
Yes.
But he wears
Crazy.
sunglasses. So,
Sure.
so the
But it
things he
is
does,
a lot of the characters wear sunglasses. And that's what I like
yeah,
about that
yeah,
is that if you notice, like almost every character has a goggle on or a sunglasses or because it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
bright, there's not a lot of cloud cover.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so you don't really think too much about that, you know?
Why would you? I mean, with the kind of
Yeah,
stuff he's doing, it is a bit of a
yeah.
cheat. This one is a bit of a cheat
A
because
little
there are
bit.
things. It's got that John Wick, his buddy
Right.
there, John Wick 4. You're like, how exactly did he play cards if you can't see?
Right.
But either way, it's a
Mm,
great way to kind of make you rethink it all.
yeah,
And it mostly doesn't cheat.
right.
Does a
I
little
think,
bit, but
yeah,
mostly doesn't.
right, right. Yeah, it toes that line, it toes that line where
Yeah,
it's like you could
exactly.
almost buy into most of the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a great reveal because rewatching this, I remember rewatching this after seeing it for the first time and going
Mhm.
like, yeah, that kind of works. Like, and there's like hints throughout, actually. There's like
Yeah,
hints,
yeah,
there's several
right.
hints that he can't see that you just don't pick up on your first time, which is always fun to see too.
Right. It's a great movie, and that's part of the reason
Yeah,
why this is so high too.
definitely.
The reveal is very interesting. I'm not going to say it's the best one that complements the film per se out of all of these, but it's a great
Sure.
film in general too.
Yeah, again, it kind of fits the theme because right, the book is the Bible, right? And it's like walk by faith, not by sight. He kind of quotes
Yeah,
several scripture passages that kind of speak to exactly what ends up being revealed, which is I think
that's
is
great.
cool.
Yeah.
So excellent movie. All right. Well, I'm gonna remove that from my list and I'm gonna go to The Usual Suspects. The
Mm,
Usual Suspects is a film that I really like. I remember watching this for the first time and just kind of being blown away by how good the movie is. The performances are stellar throughout this movie. And yeah, that twist is another one of, I think, the all-time great movie twists. Because the whole time you're with this character, Verbal Kent, who is kind of at the police station, kind of spilling his guts about everything that's just went down with this big crime operation. And it's revealed at the end of the movie that he is the mastermind of the entire operation that just occurred. And it's just really, really fascinating to watch that whole thing unfold. And you just kind of go, wow, that's that's crazy because it's one of those things where he's kind of like this enigmatic character. Not a lot of people know about him or, where he comes from or, no one knows what he looks like or anything like that. And so when it's revealed that it's this very unassuming character, of the usual suspects, there's like 5 characters there, right? Benicio del Toro's
yeah.
in there and Stephen Baldwin, who's great in that. And, he's easily the most unassuming one that you would kind of get right off and go, it's definitely not that guy. But of course, it ends up being him. And just really like the script there. The script, the
Uh,
way it all unfolds. Christopher
yeah.
McQuarrie wrote this, who's, doing the new
Oh,
Mission Impossible movies.
right.
Really good writer, really
Huh.
talented guy. And he just did a great job with that. So, yep, that's what ended up at the number 7 spot for me.
And by the way, I've never seen that one because when it came
Oh,
out, I heard the twist ending, and I
oh,
just never thought that this is probably going to ruin it. So I never went back and watched it. I don't know. I'm sure there's still some merit there, but
there is. Again, it's a very well written script. It's well
yeah.
shot. Performances are good throughout it. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
worth watching. But yeah, if you know that going in, it's kind of like, okay, well, whatever. I know,
Yeah.
I know it going in.
Yeah.
So oh well. All right, we're next on to your next one, which is number 8.
Okay. And I will draft at number 8, A Beautiful Mind.
Good pick. Yeah,
Very impactful film in the theater.
yeah, I'm sure.
Just like Sixth Sense. And honestly, it borrows the same kind of thing where there's, one or more people that aren't really there the whole time.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's different. It's not that they're dead the whole time. It's just that
No.
they're not there at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And the reason why this film is not higher up is because it does kind of borrow, I feel like, from that same line of thinking. And this
Yeah.
came after Sixth Sense, although I
Right.
think only a year later.
Yeah.
So maybe Ron Howard didn't even see
Mm,
Sixth Sense, and it was in the script the whole time.
maybe.
But something tells me that somehow that word got to him, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we should work that into the script. That'd be really
Maybe.
amazing if two, you know." So I don't know, but it's a tremendous film.
Yeah.
The look of it, the music, excellent story, and yeah, the
Mm,
way these characters are imaginary is quite haunting. You know, when you find that
yeah.
out,
Right.
just like I said, very impactful. Even though I'd seen Sixth Sense already, I still wasn't. You know, you don't expect that in most
Yeah.
movies.
Right.
So it's one of my favorite films of all time. So
Yes. Yeah, it's a good pick. I question whether he would have included it because of Sixth Sense, just because isn't this a true story? And I wonder if, I mean, I'm sure they could have
yeah,
embellished, but maybe
right.
the real guy had some of that
Well,
going on.
yeah, I'm sure he probably had some hallucinations.
Yeah.
So I do not know the answer to that. So I don't want to
Yeah.
indict Ron Howard
Right. Sure.
unfairly.
Sure. Right.
But it just
Yeah.
seemed a little too coincidental that it
I
was
hear you.
pretty close to
Sure.
that type of reveal.
Right. Right. Good pick though. All right, we're gonna move on to my next one. We're going back to M. Night. We got to go back to him again. It's The Visit.
Oh, I love
The
that
Visit.
film. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
hadn't seen The Visit until this
Uh-huh.
week.
Okay, good.
Um,
Yeah.
on your
You liked it?
recommendation, I was
Yeah.
blown away.
Yeah.
This film to
Yeah.
me, I was expecting so little. Maybe that had to do with why I'm so over the moon about this. But this movie, it really delivers on every level. Honestly,
Yeah.
the the twist is great, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the way it's shot, the found footage whole concept is there
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie. Um, the performances by the young actors are really good. You really just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
them, and they feel like real kids. A lot of child actors feel like they're trying to act like kids, and so they're either too silly or they're too serious. Or this was a perfect balance, and it really
Yes.
felt very real. And then the older actors, really, really incredible performances. I mean, you're
Mhm.
just locked in with them. The whole time you're like, what's going on with these two,
Yeah.
Because, they seem very sweet at first and very
Yeah.
warm. And then just little things start happening that's weird. And you're like, what's going
Yeah.
on? And then it
Scary.
gets really scary. At the end of this
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
it's so intense. I mean, I was, jaw on the floor, on the edge of the couch, just like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
happen? And
Right. Right.
so it's fantastic. All the way around, it's great.
Good.
The
Yeah.
ending is so great because this is such another what M. Night does so well is these themes that he carries through the films with the characters. And this one
Hmm.
obviously being all about family and forgiveness, is a huge theme here that are just unexpectedly emotional. I mean, the
Yeah.
ending is just it hits so hard. You just really don't see it coming, but they've built it throughout. It works so well. And yeah, the big twist here is these aren't the grandparents. These aren't these kids' grandparents at all.
Right.
Um, it's just, yeah, it's very well done. The reveal is handled very well. And it just, again, that third act, the way after that's revealed, the intensity
Hmm.
levels just go through the roof, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, I was very, very pleasantly surprised with The Visit. Easily one of my favorite M. Night movies. It's in my top five M. Night movies that he's ever
Yeah.
made. Just a
Me
great,
too.
great movie.
Yeah. That scene under the porch or underneath the house where the kids are crawling through there.
Oh
Oh
man,
wow, that is a scary scene.
it's super scary. Yeah, a lot of moments that I'll never forget from that movie for sure. They're very
Yeah.
freaky. Okay, Bert, we're on to your number nine. What do you have there?
Got to go with Get Out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is just a couple down for me, so
Oh, is it?
took another one for
Oh
me. Yeah.
man. Rewatched this one and I
Mm.
forgot how good this
Oh
movie
yeah.
is.
Hmm.
Brilliant. Jordan
Yep.
Peele. I mean,
Oh,
wow. First time
genius.
film. Are you kidding me? You know,
I
with
know.
this, he writes it. He writes it too, right? He's the writer
Yep.
too.
Yep.
Everyone, including his girlfriend, are involved in a body stealing
Yes.
scheme. I mean, it's a
I
bit much here, but
sure.
specifically the bodies of black people,
Yes.
these white people that are taking, their bodies.
Yeah.
Wow. I just This is an amazing work of art,
It
and we've
is.
talked about it before. But
Yeah.
now I don't know if I like this better than Us, because before,
Yeah.
when we talked about these, I was sort of championing Us, and
Sure.
that one probably is still maybe a little more layered and a little better. But
Right.
wow, Get Out,
Yeah.
Us, Nope, get
Yep.
out of town.
Absolutely agree. I agree 100%. I can't wait to see his next
Yeah.
movie. He's working on his next one now. I think they revealed, did
Okay.
they reveal the title yet? I can't remember, but yeah, he's working on it. It's supposed to come out fairly soon. I
Well,
don't know if
good.
it's the end of this year or sometime next year, but yeah, great filmmaker. Get Out is fantastic. Yeah, I've seen that many
Yeah.
times and always enjoy it. Okay, let's jump in as we're kind of coming down to our top 10. I'm gonna go with Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock, classic from 1960. This one
It's a
is
good
another
one.
one that's been talked about and parodied over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Anthony
Yeah.
Perkins' performance is superb. The whole question here is who's the killer? Janet Leigh
Yeah.
gets murdered in the shower early on, that iconic moment, and you don't know who it is. You think you know, but you don't really know until
Yeah.
the end. It's revealed to be Anthony Perkins' character, who's, the psycho of the title. And it's just such a radical tr transformation he has in the film. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
the again, the way it's shot, in shadow and stuff like that, just the way
Right.
Hitchcock
Right.
shoots all that and reveals all of it is really impactful and memorable. And again,
Yeah.
it's one of the earlier kind of big movie plot twists, that is very iconic. So had to include it and made my number
Nice.
nine. So, Bert, what do you have at your 10 spot?
Okay. At 10, I'm going with Memento.
Ah, of course. Yes.
Everyone should see this film. It is maybe the best example of nonlinear storytelling or editing or both.
Right. Yeah, the movie doesn't
and
work without that, right? If it was told
yeah,
linearly, it wouldn't it wouldn't be interesting at all.
well, and there's so many ways it's brilliant, and I could talk about it for an hour, but
Yeah.
I won't. But one of the brilliant ways is because even though each scene is basically told in reverse order,
Right.
generally,
Yeah.
um, there are things that are withheld until the end of the actual movie that normally you
Right.
would get. I mean, it should be at the beginning because they're
Yes.
going back in time again to tell. But it's hard to even explain.
Yeah.
But we get all these things that in the last scene of the film, you find out that Lenny's actually like this serial killer who desperately needs mental health treatments.
Yes.
His wife didn't actually die,
Right. Right.
and I think it's that he accidentally killed her. I think is what
Right.
you find out
Yep. Yep.
after the fact, and so it's so disturbing. And then this one is I've seen it at least 5 or 10 times, but it's almost a film you could take a class on because
Yes.
everything makes sense. The film itself is very enjoyable and
Mhm.
engaging and sort of exciting, and the acting's tremendous. But the reveal of all that actually is going on, because we can't rely on Lenny. He's not a reliable historian, to say the
Yes.
least. And
Yes.
so we get this kind too, where main character is an unreliable historian, and so
Yeah.
therefore, here's what really was happening. So
Yes.
this is one of
Yes.
those, and I think this one does it the best.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's one of Nolan's best. Him and his brother did a great job writing that script because it is
Yeah.
just, yeah, on another level. I don't know if you've seen the video where Nolan goes up to a chalkboard and does a diagram of
Yeah.
the
You told me
story.
about it, and I found
Yeah,
it out. Yeah, I watched it after. Yeah.
it's a fun one. Yeah,
Yes.
excellent choice. All right. We're going to my number 10 now, which is going to be Batman Under the Red Hood.
Oh,
This
okay.
is an animated Batman movie. You can watch on Max if you have Max. You can get it on Blu-ray. It is an adaptation of the Under the Red Hood storyline from the comics, which sees this new villain arrive in Gotham called the Red Hood, starts causing
Mm.
chaos, um, just killing he's killing bad guys, but he's
Oh,
brutally killing them. He's
well.
kind of taking the Batman idea too far,
Oh,
basically.
yeah.
And
Oh, you
so
gotcha.
Batman has to kind of figure out who this is, why he's doing this. and the reveals are shocking. I won't reveal it to you because I know you haven't seen it, and I think you would actually really like this. It's one of the best of all the DC animated films.
Hmm.
I've got the comics, and they're fantastic. They did a great job adapting them. Bruce Greenwood
Okay.
voices Batman in this. He's really good
Oh,
as
I like Bruce
Batman.
Greenwood.
Great
Yeah.
actor. Jensen
Yeah.
Ackles is in it. John DiMaggio. Several really good actors in the film, and it's a great reveal. It's a really good, shocking reveal that you don't see coming, and that really
Okay.
it's another one of those that changes the dynamic a lot, like Empire Strikes Back or something, where like
Okay.
the character is
Okay.
revealed to be something you don't see coming, and so it kind of changes like how are we going to deal with this now?
Yeah.
And the ending of it is really really strong as well. So big fan of Under the Red Hood. If you get a chance to check it out, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I don't see too many animated films that aren't kids films, but I mean, if they're really highly recommended by
Yeah.
you, I'm willing to take a crack at it.
Yeah,
So,
and it is a PG-13, so it's a little more edgy, you
oh,
know.
okay, okay.
A lot of the
Well, I
DC
love
animated
that
movies get that
those
rating.
Spider-Verse films are
Yeah,
tremendous.
they
So,
are. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, this is, I wouldn't say the animation is necessarily quite on that level as far as what they're
yeah,
doing with it. This is more traditional animation, but it looks great. And again, the cast is excellent. It's got a good score too. It's just a really, really well-made film. So yeah, check it out. All right, we're on to now, out of our top 10, on to your number 11, Bert. What do you have there?
okay. That's where I'm gonna put The Others,
Oh yeah, another one on
starring
my list.
Nicole.
Yep.
Yeah, starring Nicole Kidman. Um, Another one, kind of like Sixth Sense, so it kind of goes in that
Yeah.
direction.
Right.
However, the film is just so unique.
Hmm.
I was going to say fun. It's not really fun at all. There's no really fun to be had,
Right.
but it's an interesting. This is one of those films that's not. It doesn't have a finely painted,
Yeah.
canvas. This is something that's
Sure.
really more broad, and you're trying to figure out what's going on most of the time. And then, sort of separately from that, you find out that Nicole Kidman, who's basically a single mom, that they think they're being haunted, her and her kids, but they're actually the ones doing the haunting.
Right.
And so it kind of levels up from Sixth
Yeah.
Sense a little bit
Right.
in a lot of ways, and kind of takes it from a different angle. But this
Hmm.
is such a great looking film and well
Yeah.
acted and scary at times and just
Hmm.
moody. I love the atmosphere of this
Yes.
film. And so that reveal, though, certainly, once again, I wasn't really expecting that,
Yeah.
and it works well. I think it aids the
Yes.
movie.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Great movie. Vividly remember seeing that for the first time. I was probably a little too young because it was pretty scary. It was pretty
Yeah,
scary, man. Certain
yeah,
moments I will never forget from that movie. Really good though.
right.
I did rewatch it just a few years ago, and definitely
Okay,
holds up. Holds up very well. Beautiful
yeah.
looking movie, and like you're saying, that atmosphere that it creates is really, really vivid. So excellent choice. All right, I'm gonna move on to another comic book movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Okay,
Um, I'm a big fan of this movie and the comic on which it's based. And the reveal here, again, a lot like Star Wars, where we see a character we think is the bad guy that we've got to defeat. We've got to stop him at all costs. And he's the best friend of the hero.
yeah, yeah.
And so now the
So
dynamic
you didn't
totally
know that going
flips.
in, huh?
Yeah, I did because I'd read the comic.
Oh, and I
But
did not. I did not. So I was
yeah,
like, that
right.
guy, that
Yeah,
Bucky?
right.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it was very surprising
Yeah.
to me. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. It is a great reveal.
yeah,
The way they handle it is really good. The way that everything goes into slow motion, and Captain America's just kind of standing there dumbfounded. It's really, really well done. And then
yeah.
again, the rest of the movie becomes, yeah, we've got to stop him from doing this thing, but he's my best friend. I got to save him, he's my best friend.
I
So
kind of like to save him too. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so it's that tension that I think helps that
yeah,
movie, the third act of that movie really work. And
right.
that iconic line, I'm with you to the end of the line, that he calls back to from that, flashback we see earlier in the movie. And that's what kind of snaps him out of it. So it's a great, great moment, great movie, great relationship. I mean, Cap and Bucky is kind of like, in many ways, the heart of the MCU for me. Many of those movies kind of rely on them. Even, the follow-up Civil War is a lot
Yeah,
about them and their relationship. So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
definitely like that one. And Civil War has some great twists in it as well. But I think Winter
Hmm.
Soldier tops them all. So went with that one. What do you got next,
Nice.
Bert?
This is my 12. Yeah,
Yep.
my 12. I'm taking The Village that we talked about.
Ah, that was my next one.
Oh, shoot, was it really?
Yeah,
Oh, M. Night.
I know. He's too
So
good.
I, I'll be interested in your opinion because
Yeah.
you probably didn't know the twist about
Yeah, right.
the fact that it's a modern day
Hmm.
tale that they kind of make the audience believe that it's not that it's set
Right.
back in time.
Yes.
And then so that's obviously a pretty big reveal. And then the fact about who are these monsters in the woods?
Mm,
I thought that was some really good stuff, that reveal.
yeah.
And um what am I trying to say about? Oh, the scenes where they do that reveal are pretty scary. Like
Yeah.
when you almost find out, like there's this shed that you're not supposed to talk about. Oop, I wasn't supposed to talk
Yeah.
about that in this pod either.
Right.
No, but uh, but seriously, yeah, it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Mm,
And so I like both twists. I don't get why people have so maybe why people have such an issue with this film. I don't know. It's a beautiful film, beautiful
yeah.
music. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's great. I like everything about it. I think the twist at the end that it's present day isn't really necessary. I think maybe I don't know if that's why people
Yeah.
think they
Yeah.
think it's too gimmicky or there's too many
Doesn't
plot
aid the
holes in
film.
that idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard all kinds of things. None of it bothers me. I just feel
Okay.
like the present day thing, it's not necessary, right? It doesn't really
Yeah.
do much for the story.
Yeah.
Um, I think the best reveal is the monster reveal that they're not
Yeah.
real. That's to me the
Right.
big reveal. That's like,
Right.
what? Oh, okay. So this is all fake. This is like, and the present day thing just
Yeah.
adds to the fact that this is all fake. This is all a facade. It's not real.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just adds to that. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great film. But yeah, I think in some ways I was more surprised by the monster thing on first watch. I
Hmm.
was like, oh, wait, what? The monsters aren't even a real thing. That to me, I
Right.
think was even more surprising than when she stumbles upon, the M. Night himself in the security office there.
Yeah. Do
Um,
you think M. Night was under pressure to have a big twist? Because it seemed like he was the guy that did the twists. Maybe
yeah,
that's part of the reason why he decided to go with that.
possibly. Although I know
Yeah.
in interviews I've heard with him, he's a huge fan of Twilight Zone, which,
Oh,
basically every episode of Twilight Zone is there's a big twist that reveals something
right.
else.
Right.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think that's kind of just in his DNA as a filmmaker. Like pretty much
Yeah.
every movie he's made has that.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And most of the movies he's made have been original screenplays that he's written.
Right.
So I think that's just sort of in him. Maybe they pushed him
Hmm.
to push it further and like, hey, do this.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, how great is it though that the big reveal of the monsters is that there are none, and you're not
Yes.
disappointed. You're not
Oh
disappointed
yeah.
because it could have been
Right.
so bad. The monster comes around the
Yeah.
corner, we see him in all the full glory, and you're like, oh yeah, another monster movie. I mean, it
Yes.
could have been scary, but
Yeah.
this is more expertly crafted than just relying on
Yes.
the monster comes out, right?
100% agree. It's what you don't see that's scary. That's what's
Yeah.
scary.
Oh,
It's like Jaws,
speaking
right? It's like you don't see the shark and
right.
it's scarier that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, horror films are always better when you don't see it too soon, or maybe even at
Yes.
all.
Right.
There's sorry, real quick. There's a deleted scene
Oh.
on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, where the main girl is her name Violet, I want to say.
Oh,
Uh,
it's something like that.
yeah, they need to
Yeah.
send someone out from the village to get medicine because I think it's for her fiance that gets injured, right? Or boyfriend or
Yes.
fiance,
Yes.
and they send her out, and mind you, she's blind.
Right.
And why they have to choose her, I don't know. They make some reason why. And so she's going through the woods, and she starts hearing the monsters making their like
Yeah.
noises that they make,
Right.
and we come across these series of wind chimes, and you figure out, oh, this is where the noises come from. And then
Yep.
she literally has to walk right in the middle of all this. It's a very
Yes.
intense scene,
It
but I kind of get why
is.
they didn't include it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't mind if that was in there because I like that sequence where
Yeah,
she's walking and she stumbles upon, the whole thing is stay away from red, the color red. And she's like
yeah,
surrounded
yeah,
by all those red, leaves or whatever.
yeah.
It's like some
Right,
great moments like
right.
that in that
Yes,
sequence. Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Excellent movie. Um, okay. Well, now we are going to move on to my number 11, or 12, sorry, my number 12, which is going to be No Way Out. This is a
Oh, I
movie
haven't seen this in a
from,
long time.
yeah, yeah, from back in the 80s. Kevin Costner, Sean Young. I like the movie a lot. It's a cool kind of
Hmm.
conspiracy spy thriller. really well done. Gene Hackman is fantastic as always in that. And the whole movie, you're looking for the Russian spy. Who is it? And of course, it ends up being Kevin Costner himself, which is just so crazy. I did not see it coming at all.
Mm.
Totally out of left field because he's the hero. You're with him the whole time.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
Kevin Costner. He's kind of like the most American guy ever, Dances with Wolves and all the
yeah,
stuff he's
yeah.
done over his career. And
Right.
so for
He's a
him to be
Harrison
the Russian,
Ford-ish guy.
yeah, exactly. He never
Yeah,
plays the villain.
yeah.
So it's great. And it's one I want to rewatch. I haven't rewatched it, but rewatching it knowing that, I'm curious how the experience will be on a second time. So, to see what he
Nice.
does and if there's any hints or
Yeah,
clues like that. So that's always fun to do.
right.
So I'll
Yep.
have to do that soon. But yeah, No Way Out. It's a fun one. All right. So that's it for my number 12. Bert, what do you have at 13?
Christopher Nolan's The Prestige.
Ah, yes. Another one I was going to take.
Here's one where it's a good twist, the fact that he has a twin.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's character has a twin. But I kind of think I might have seen this one coming.
Oh,
But I can't remember because I've seen it so many times
yeah.
since then. But it is a fun twist because the movie kind of puts you in this point where it kind of backs itself into a corner where that's really the only way
Right.
out is that he has to have a twin
Yeah. Yeah.
performing the trick with him.
Right.
But so it's an effective reveal. It's not
Mhm.
the most momentous reveal per se,
Sure.
but it's in a film that is a tremendous film. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm at 4.5 stars at least on the film, so I had to put
Yeah.
it pretty high up there just because it works well in the process of telling this story in this great looking film.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great reveal because of the way it's done, and yeah, it makes sense of the rest of the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and it's a fun one to rewatch because there's such distinct personalities that, watching the film the first time, you're kind of like, what
what is
is
that guy?
is this guy have like split personality disorder or something?
Oh, you for that? Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because he acts certain ways with certain characters and other ways with
yeah,
other characters. And so
yeah.
this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, these are actually two totally different people. They just look exactly the
Right,
same.
right.
And so it's good. And it's cool that, the way the journeys parallel each other with Hugh Jackman finding someone that looks kind of like him and kind of making
Yeah,
him look more like himself, to do the whole
that's
thing.
great.
And
Yeah,
then yeah, all of it comes together really well at the end. Great movie. One of my favorite Nolan films. It's a good one.
yeah.
All right, so jumping in now to my number 13 draft pick. It's going to be Moon, starring
Oh,
Sam Rockwell.
okay.
Um, Great movie. Really, again, like this actor a lot. He's already come up on this podcast. The whole movie's him. The whole movie is just him by
It's one of
himself
those.
on the moon. And then there ends up being another him on the moon with himself. He learns that
Yeah,
he is a clone. And so that's the big reveal here. Works really well. I think, his two performances are both so unique and different, that's kind of what, drives the movie and makes it really worth watching. The twist itself is great, but it's the performances that really stand out and work really well. And so, yeah, I really like this. Duncan Jones directed this. He's a director I really like. He's the son of David Bowie, and
oh,
he did this. He did Source Code, another one I like
oh
with
yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal,
Hmm.
and Warcraft. And so he's a good director. I like him a lot, and this is still my favorite film that he's ever done. So yeah, that was one that I thought of when I thought of plot twist. I was like, yeah, that's a good. I remember first seeing that and going, oh, okay. And then where the movie goes from there is really interesting after the reveal happens. So yep, that made my number 13. Bert, we're gonna jump now into your 14 pick.
I'll take 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm, great one.
The yeah, the filmmaker does a really good job of making you think that this is all like a crazy person, right?
Yes, right,
I mean, there are times where you're like, well, maybe it really is bad out there.
right.
So you get sold mostly on that this is just a man that's just gone completely nutter. And
Yes.
So then that reveal at the end, where it goes full on Cloverfield one,
Yeah,
uh, is really fun. Yeah, like I said,
yeah.
I think it succeeds. I don't know what you think about the twist specifically, but I was definitely in the camp of, yeah, he's just imprisoning these people. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes, totally. No, I totally bought it too. I'm a huge fan of this movie. It's one of my favorite sequels.
Yeah,
It's it, it it definitely throws you for a loop because yes, you definitely throughout the movie as you hear him talking, it's the Martians and he's talking about all this crazy stuff, and you're like, okay, this guy's obviously nuts. Um, and then when she finally gets out of that bunker and nope, he was
yeah,
right the whole time. That's a really good moment. A really good moment.
yeah,
Definitely stands
yeah.
out. It was on my list as well. And so yeah, excellent choice. Can't fault you for it because like I said, I was about to pick it myself. So good choice. Let's jump now to my number 14, which is a movie called Primal Fear.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Big fan of this. Richard Gere, and sort of I don't know if it was first movie, but it was sort of the breakout role for Edward Norton.
Sure.
Um, he, he's playing this criminal who's, Richard Gere's his attorney, trying to prove he's innocent the whole time, and lo and behold, he's not innocent at all. He fooled everyone. I mean, he fooled his own attorney, he fooled everybody, and the performance Norton delivers here, it's kind of like one of those just rock your world performances. Like it stands out so much, even of everything he's still done to this day. I think it stands out as one of his best because it's like he's playing two totally different people at different
Mm.
points in the movie. So big fan of Primal Fear. I've only seen this a couple times, but it's one of those that just stands out as like, whoa, one of those kind of like really shocks you and kind of scares you. Like, can I trust anyone now if people are capable of this? You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I had to pick Primal Fear that ended up that spot.
That's kind of like Usual Suspects. I found out about this one ahead of
Oh, did
time,
you?
and so I've never gone back and revisited it.
Yeah.
But in this case, I was working at the theater, and I think we were
Mm.
having like a focusing issue or something. So I'm in the
Oh,
projection booth,
uh-huh.
and it's during this climactic scene where he switches and he starts saying that he really did it, or
Right.
forget how exactly that goes down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I was looking forward to watching this movie, and now I don't know. So I never have gone back and watched it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be worth checking out. You might get something out of it. Again, I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember really enjoying it as a good just a good kind of courtroom drama too on top of it. So all right. Going now to Bert's 15. What do you have there?
That's where I will take Identity.
Oh man. Now I gotta erase that one from my list.
It's been a long. I saw this when it first came out, so I'm going to read a quick
Oh,
synopsis.
okay.
Several strangers are stranded in a remote desert motel during a storm, and then they soon find themselves the target of a deranged murderer, and they start dropping off one by one.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, this whole thing is in the head of one of the characters,
Right.
which was I definitely did not see that coming. That was
Yeah.
pretty brilliant.
Right.
And so I will say this one verges on a little toward I didn't necessarily want it to go there, but
Yeah.
it was definitely so brilliant. And I never, I mean, the idea of like one character having dreamt, an entire sequence or entire
Yeah.
film. I
Sure.
mean, that's been done before,
Right. Right.
but I just thought very well made film, very
Yeah.
suspenseful. And
Mhm.
then with that kind of ending, it was pretty surprising.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Yeah. Great pick. One I really liked. I've only seen this one within the last year, or
Mm,
maybe year and a half
gotcha.
for the first time, and yeah, it was one of those where I agree. I'm not a fan of it was on the head of some character and none of it really happened. I'm not a big fan of that, but here I think it works because it's all the different personalities that he has, right? It's like a
Yeah.
guy who has
Yeah.
one of these disorders, and so it
Right.
worked on a story level for
Yeah.
me that I was like, okay, that makes sense, that works. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like that movie though. It's a pretty good one. All right, we're gonna move on to my next pick, which is 12 Monkeys.
Oh, okay.
Really big fan of 12 Monkeys. It's Terry Gilliam, who I'm a huge fan of, British director, very kind of quirky guy. He makes really interesting movies. A lot of them are kind of sci-fi leaning.
Yeah.
And this is one that I really like. It's a great dystopian future film, but it's also a great time travel movie. Has a great Bruce Willis performance at the center of it, one of my favorite actors, and a great Brad Pitt performance. I think he's kind of almost the standout here. Really good in this. And the film is interesting because it's, they're trying to figure out how to stop this virus that's wiped out humanity. And throughout the movie, Bruce Willis is having these flashes, these kind of images of um, his own death. And at the end of the movie, you realize it's a memory because he witnessed his own death when he was a child. It's one of those kind of crazy paradox things, but I think it worked really well. It was a great reveal at the end of the movie. And it's just a compelling movie on its own, but that's another one of those twists that kind of just enhances the movie and makes it more memorable and kind of better. Big fan of 12 Monkeys. I've seen it a number of times. I've got it on Blu-ray and I like it a lot. So that's my
Okay.
number 15. So now, Bert, we're on to your 16th pick.
I'm going with a film called Barbarian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is a great setup because
hmm
you can see it from a mile away that Skarsgård is going to do some really nasty stuff to this
Yes,
poor young lady that happens to show up at the same Airbnb.
right.
And
It's an
except
accident. Uh-oh, accident. It's so
right,
I know I totally know what you mean because it seems so obvious. Like I know
it's
exactly
on a
what
silver
this is how I
platter.
felt. Yes, 100%. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't even really want to watch this because I know exactly what's going to happen.
You think you're going to get another 90 minutes of him terrorizing this poor young woman,
Yes,
and
yes,
you do not get anything like that. And it completely shifts to just a movie involving a person creature that lives in the basement and stuff like that. It's
yes.
so scary.
Yeah,
And just a great horror film.
right.
Honestly, I was so blown away by it when I saw it.
Me too. Yeah, it's one of my favorite recent horror movies I've ever seen. Very
Yeah.
shockingly memorable. Yeah, as soon as Skarsgård gets off, you're like, okay, now where is this going to go? I have no clue now. Like you're just
Right.
totally in the dark. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a very memorable film. Very
Yeah.
terrifying movie. One of the scariest, certainly that I've ever seen. So great pick. Um, all right, we're on to my number 16. I'm gonna dive back into the Marvel world with
Mm.
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, this one's on my list.
Oh, was it? Okay.
This one's pretty delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fun one because it's another one of those that, for comic book fans like me, like Winter Soldier going in, I knew the twist, I knew, what was going to happen, but it was still effective and it worked really well. This
Yeah.
is one where Vulture has no personal connection to Spider-Man at all in the comics. He's just some random bad guy that he used to fight.
Oh,
And
okay.
so when they made him the dad of his girlfriend, that was just, oh, I remember being in the theater just going, what?
Yes.
Like just really
Yes.
freaking out. Great
Yeah.
moment because, and it's great because, Keaton, he's, you see him throughout the movie and he's a great compelling villain. He's kind of like a blue collar guy just
Yeah.
trying to make it, he's really
Yeah.
relatable and you kind of like him. But
Yeah.
when they show you that, yeah, he's the dad of the girl that he's taking to the homecoming dance, it adds this whole other layer to the movie of like this is a teenage boy's worst nightmare times 10. It's like you have to meet the
Yeah.
dad of the girlfriend and he's your arch enemy that you have to,
Super villain. Yeah.
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 So it's a great idea. It's a great idea for a high school, doing the high school
Yeah.
Spider-Man thing, like how to make that
hmm
interesting. And they really found a great way to do it. So Homecoming, it's still my favorite of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies because I think it has the best
Yeah.
story.
Me too.
And
Me too.
I think it has a great kind of, again, that great twist and great
hmm
action throughout it. So yeah, that was one that definitely, even again, as a fan of the source material, I like it when they can throw us little curveballs like that and
Yeah.
have fun with it. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites of all time.
That one from me.
All right, you're now on to your 17.
Okay. Another horror film, The Uninvited. Have you seen this yet?
I just watched it this week.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Because I was not going to spoil it because it's a huge reveal.
Yes.
Again, it borrows from
Sure.
Sixth Sense. It goes back to that
Right,
well.
right.
However, it's a very well-made
Hmm.
horror film that has some true scary moments. There's that scene
Yeah.
in a bedroom where this
Yes.
creature or something is coming out, and it's really scary.
Yeah.
And then I just thought to throw it to give me the Sixth Sense kind of ending.
Yeah.
It really worked. I was very shocked. I
Yeah.
absolutely did not see that coming. What did you think
Yep.
about it?
Yeah, I like the movie overall. I don't think it's the most well made as far
Oh,
as
you
like
don't?
the level of Sixth Sense. Like I didn't get
Oh, no,
that
no,
vibe
no.
from
Yeah,
it,
no, not at all.
but
Yeah.
it's worth watching for sure. If you're a horror
Hmm.
fan, I think you'll get a lot out of it. I'm not as into that genre, so I don't gravitate towards
Hmm.
it, but this one was pretty well done. And the twist is really good, and you really don't see it coming at all because it's another one of these things like Sixth Sense where it's like the characters throughout the whole movie and is in scenes with other characters and stuff. And so you're just
It's
going, and she's interacting with other characters. So it's like she has to be. You don't even think twice about she's not
yeah.
there. You don't even
Right. The
really.
fact that every character doesn't talk to every character, every other character in the film, like you're not really checking that to see, okay, did this
No.
person talk to that person? So I know that
Yes.
person's alive. I mean, you don't do that.
No, not at all. They do it very well, and she's her kind of attitude is very like off-putting. So you could see why characters wouldn't want to interact with her because she's kind of
Yeah.
very abrasive, anyway.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it works really well. The twist
Yeah.
does work very well in that movie.
Good.
Emily Browning is great in it, and David Strathairn is in this, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of his. I think he's a little underused in it.
Okay.
I do like Elizabeth Banks in this a lot because this is a
Uh-huh.
side of her I haven't really seen. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Again, it's not the genre
Good.
I'm like into, so I'm not like over the moon about it or anything, but I
Gotcha.
think it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
I'm glad I watched it because it was a fun watch.
Great.
All right, now we're moving on to my number 17, keeping it in the horror mode, although kind of going into a little bit of a more of a satirical bent with The Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
I really like The Cabin in the Woods because this is all about subverting expectations. It takes all the tropes of horror movies
Yeah,
and
all of them.
plays with them, kind of has fun with
Yeah.
them, right? And
Yeah.
so it's great. Richard Jenkins is great. His role in this is really good. I kind of maybe wish that they had held back on revealing the twist a little bit longer. That's
Sure.
maybe my only criticism of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Set up the cabin in the woods thing that we all know, and then reveal it a little bit later. I think that would have maybe been a
Yeah.
little bit more effective, but I
Right.
still think it works. The ending goes pretty bonkers. But I have
Yeah.
fun with that. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Me too.
It kind of fits the whole tone of the film. So big fan of Cabin in the Woods. I've seen it a couple times and get a pretty big kick out of that.
Yeah.
All right, Bert. Now we're on to your 18. Our last three picks here. What do you got at 18?
I think I'm going to go with Red Eye, the Wes
Oh,
Craven film,
good
a horror
choice.
director, not necessarily making a horror film,
Sure.
more of a thriller. And I so enjoy this film. So that's one of the reasons why it's high up there. But again, just like Barbarian, oh, I'm sorry, the opposite of Barbarian.
Yeah.
Um, you think that the character played by, literally dialing it up because I can't remember.
Cillian Murphy.
Oh yeah, Killian Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and you think that he's playing a nice guy, and he's a little edgy,
Sure.
but I kind of when I first watched the film, I thought, oh, this is kind of a neat role. I haven't really seen him do this sort of film before, maybe sort of like the hero type. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it takes this opposite left turn,
Yeah.
and then he is very well suited at
Hmm.
what he ends up being in the film. And there's some wonderful revenge and that kind of stuff that happens.
Right.
So yeah, it's not that you couldn't entirely see it coming. I wondered myself probably the first time I saw it, like, oh, is he really this nice? Oh, okay, it's great to see him play this kind of role. But
Yes.
no,
Yep.
Killian done erased that, and went the other. He's the villain, yeah, or one of them. Well,
Exactly.
he's only one of the villains,
That's
frankly.
true. There's
But
another villain there. That's true.
some really great
Yeah.
dialogue and stuff like that, natural dialogue and stuff
Yeah.
with Rachel McAdams.
Yes. Both performances are great, and you need both to work for that movie to work, and they really do a great job with it. Yeah, really, really enjoyed that movie. So good choice. Um, all right, on to my number 18. I'm going back to the 1970s with a fun one called Soylent Green. You seen
Okay, I'm
this?
aware of this film
You're aware of
of the
it? You
twist.
know the twist?
Yeah,
Okay. Most people do.
yeah.
It's one of the popular kind of endings to any movie. Charlton Heston screaming, "Soylent Green is people!" You know,
There was an SNL sketch
oh,
that,
was
and
there?
that's where I saw the twist, and I'm like,
Okay.
what is Soylent Green? And then I looked up the movie, and I'm like, oh, well, just spoils that one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a fun movie though. It's a cool kind of like a neo-noir kind of
Oh,
film.
okay.
It's all dystopian future. I think it takes place
Hmm.
in 2022, the near future of 2022. When the society's falling apart and they can't produce enough food for everyone, so they have these little bars called Soylent Green, and you get your 3 packets of Soylent Green a day, and everyone fights over
Oh,
Soylent Green because they have to have it to survive. And you end up learning at the end of the movie, he's kind of investigating these murders and how these people are disappearing, and
oh,
he ends up finding the factory and going there and seeing that, yeah, all the old people just kind of walk in one day and they never walk out.
mm,
It's pretty eerie ending to the movie, and it's really well done. Heston, he's one of my favorites, and he's always great here. And so,
yeah,
yeah, definitely worth. Even if you know this was, I think it's worth watching because it's just kind of a fun kind of film to see. It's very 70s, but it's definitely got some fun moments and some good performances in it. So yeah, that one had to be in there somewhere because that's another one of those iconic movie quotes.
oh yeah. And you imagine the people in the theater watching that for the first time,
Oh
and they
yeah.
must have been horrified.
Yes.
Cannibalism. Whoa, what?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely shocking. All right, Bert, now we're at your number 19. What do you have there?
Oblivion.
Oh, yes. Excellent pick.
Yeah. He is one of many, you find out.
Yes.
And it's not the biggest, like, knock your socks off. And instead, though, it's a brilliant way to sort of book in the film because
Yeah,
now you finally get a bigger scope of what's happening. And then you got this
right.
great thing where it enables um the character played by Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
who dies, he's able to come back as a result because it's another
Yes.
variant of him. So you
Right.
get that sort of like, wow, he's killed off, but then you get the
Yeah.
happy ending because he comes
Right.
back, sort of comes back.
Yes. Yes.
So I love that.
Yeah.
It's a different way to use a plot twist or a
Right.
reveal. It's more a reveal.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that moment sitting in the theater watching that when he, pulls up in his ship and comes up on the other guy and he's like, got his gun on. And he's like, what? Wait, it's me?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great. And they kind of fight each other. It's cool to see that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, like you're saying, the ending does work really well because you have the heroic sacrifice that happens, but
yeah,
yeah, the family that's there that he's kind of left behind gets to kind of have their happy ending, which is cool. So,
yeah,
and it doesn't feel like a cheat. Most movies that would feel like a cheat, like oh, they cheated, they kind of
yeah.
had to have it both ways, but it works there because of the
Yeah,
nature of the
yeah,
story. Yeah, it's
right.
a good pick for sure. Excellent choice. Um, all right, my number 19 is going to be a movie called Murder on the Orient Express. One of these murder mysteries where it's a whodunit based on an Agatha Christie novel, trying to figure out who killed this person on this train. There's
Hmm.
only a certain amount of suspects, right? So we're gonna, happens to have world's greatest detective on the train, and he's gonna figure it out. And so he's interviewing everyone. The whole movie, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, could it be this? Oh, they have a motivation. Oh, maybe it's that person. They have a motivation. And have you seen this? Should I spoil this or no?
I have if you think I really should see it, I'll watch it, but I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Well, I won't spoil it because I think you should watch it.
Oh
Even
yeah.
if you're
Okay.
not really into these types of movies, I think it's a really good
It
twist.
sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's good. And the Kenneth Branagh version is the version I'm talking about. I haven't seen the original.
Okay. Okay.
This just came out in, I don't know, 2014, somewhere around there.
Oh really? Oh okay. I
Yeah,
thought you were
it's
talking
pretty
about the
recent.
original.
No, I haven't seen that. I'd like to see it.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the
I'll
new one.
definitely check it out.
Yeah, Branagh directed it and he stars in it as the detective.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
it's got some great actors in it. Really, Willem Dafoe's in there. Really great cast. Um, Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, it's really like every actor is like an A-lister, and
Hmm.
it's
Okay.
uh, it's definitely worth checking out because when
I
it's
will.
revealed what's really going on there. It's like, oh wow, that's a new version of a murder mystery that I haven't seen before. So
Okay, nice, nice.
definitely watch it. And he's now made Death on the Nile, which they're all Agatha Christie related. He made Death on the Nile a couple years ago, and then his most recent one was Haunting in Connecticut. I still haven't seen that one, but they're all based on Agatha
That's
Christie
on my
kind of murder
list.
mystery films. But yeah,
Okay.
Murder on the Orient Express is definitely my favorite. And
Is it a trilogy, those three films?
I mean, he's playing the same character, so that's
Oh,
the
he is.
continuity. It's kind of
Okay,
it's a lot like
okay.
Knives Out. You know how Daniel
Yeah, I
Craig's
need
in
to
all of
watch
them.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. The first one
Okay.
again is my favorite. Death on the Nile is worth watching too, but yeah, the first one is really good.
Good. Okay. Nice.
All right, Bert. Your last pick, number 20. What do you have there?
Man, I got 20 more after that, but we're running out of
Okay,
time. So
right.
I will end it with one that is a personal favorite film of mine that
Oh,
does have a twist in it, and that is
okay.
going to be The Illusionist.
Oh, yes. Excellent choice. Great
Yeah,
movie.
I could go on and on about the film, but I'll just say the twist is really it's one. This is one again one that's used frequently with twists, which is that the character is killed off. I mean, we got some on the list already. A character is killed off. Only at the very end you find out, oh, they didn't actually die. We didn't see
Right.
them put in the ground, and they're coming back now. And then that
Yes.
happens here with his girlfriend, which kind of sets it up. It makes it kind of gives that emotional bump, and then you see that he actually gets to be with her at the end.
Right, right.
But this is like my favorite romance film.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a beautiful looking film.
It
Music
is.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's spectacular. I can't wait to rewatch it because it's been a while since I've seen it. I've finally
Yeah,
got
you
it in
really
my
should.
collection now. And so I'll definitely
Edward
be
Norton again.
checking it out. Edward Norton, yeah, one of the best. And Paul Giamatti's in there. Really
Yeah,
great
yeah,
cast. Yeah, like
right.
you said, a great looking movie. Another one with a great atmosphere to it. And I don't think my wife has seen it, so maybe we'll watch that later tonight and I'll
Yeah,
surprise
if
her.
great date night film.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will say, and this has got to be the twin film for the Prestige because they came out around the same time, but
that's right.
completely different movies, and both are excellent. That doesn't happen very often.
That's true. Yeah, it's got the kind of premise of like magicians,
Yeah,
mystery, but it
right.
goes a different way and has a different kind of vibe to it. So yeah, yeah, that's it. It's a good one.
If you rewatch it, I would just note the visual styles unlike anything I've ever seen. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll pay attention to the visuals because I remember them being great, but I don't remember very many specifics. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on that for sure. Awesome. Well, that was a great list of 20. My final pick is going to be an animated film from Disney titled Meet the Robinsons.
oh, I haven't seen this one.
You haven't seen this? Okay, you got to
No.
watch it. I won't give it
Okay.
away,
Okay.
but it's a really good twist. There's actually a couple twists in the movie. One of
Hmm.
them I think you
Okay.
can kind of see coming probably if you're paying attention. The other one really surprised me, and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." It's really fun. The whole family can watch it. It's not like, super dark
Okay.
or anything.
Yeah, I
It's
need
a
to get this then.
fun
Yeah.
fun family film.
Okay.
Well worth watching. A lot of comedy. It's very funny. It's a very kind of silly
Okay.
comedy, but there's some, emotional moments in it too that really kind of hit
Yeah.
hard. And it's the whole movie's about family and friendship, and there's some interesting things that happen. It's a time travel movie, so you'll get a lot out of it because I know you're a big time travel fan,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and it's a fun one. Definitely worth checking out. We were actually
Good.
just watching it last night at my brother's birthday party. He had it on in the background because it's one of our family favorites we watch often. So
Okay.
yeah, check out Meet the Robinsons. It's a good one.
Nice. You might want to mention on the letterbox because we both have maybe a dozen or two more that are
Yes,
really good, but we're
definitely.
not going to do a 4 hour marathon of everything.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll save that for Letterbox. You guys check us out there. We'll both have lists. I'll put our top 20s on there and also put my own personal kind of big list, which I already actually have mine out there. But yeah, we'll have Bert's out there as well. You can follow us on Letterbox in the description of this video. So make sure you go down there and follow us there. Real World is also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can follow us all across there. There's a Real World group on Facebook. If you want to join that, just send out a request and I can add you to the group. Bert, this was a fun episode, man. This was again a long time coming. We haven't done this topic yet for some reason, but I'm glad we finally got around to it.
Yeah, it's so different. I really don't want it to end. It's fun popping in and talking about these exciting moments in these films.
Yeah, these are memorable moments, right? I mean, these are kind of the moments that you carry with you as you go out of the theater and into the
Yeah,
years
yeah,
and years after you've seen it that you go, man, remember that movie when that happened? Yeah,
yeah.
that's fun to talk about. So it was a great topic. I'm glad we got to cover it. Let us know your picks. If you're watching or listening, let us know your favorite movie twists of all time. We'd love to have a conversation with you about these. Are some of these ones that we picked maybe you didn't like? Maybe you think they're bad twists and we shouldn't have put them on the list. Let us know about that too. That's always fun to talk about. So happy to have a conversation with you. Bert, as always, it was a blast. Next week, we're going to be covering Alien. I've got a guest coming on to talk about the Alien franchise. We're going to be reviewing and ranking every Alien movie. And we'll also be talking about Alien Romulus, the latest Alien film that's coming in theaters this week. So very excited about that one. Bert, again, thank you for joining me.
Yep, likewise. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button, give us a thumbs up. That helps us a lot. Again, leaving a comment below helps us a ton. We're closing on 600 subscribers now. So we really appreciate all your support. Share this across social media. Get the word out on the real world. If you're a movie fanatic, this is the place to be. So thank you again. We will see you next time right here on The Real World.